Welcome to the party, pal. You're from the neighborhood, Master Chaos, back with you once again with part 6 pickup sticks of the one and only Dungeon of Andy Milligan box set here from Severin Films. We're almost done. 2 more discs remain. But what is disc 6? What fresh hell awaits us? Or cinematic joy awaits us? Disc 6. Well, I'll tell you what. I was closer the first time. What fresh hell is this? This is Andy Milligan's Legacy of Blood.
Wow.
Last time I mentioned the shabbiness of the set, the way this was put together, and I got multiple comments from you fine, wonderful folks out there in YouTube land who said their set actually already came destroyed. That's awful. That is awful to hear. I mean, you pay a pretty penny for these movies that, I mean, the price of this was the budget of some of these movies. So you expect it to be in pristine condition. Getting it not pristine is awful, and that's heartbreaking. And I'm really hoping Severin comes through and helps either refund or repair or send out a replacement for those who received their Milligan set destroyed. That's awful. That's awful to hear. You know what else is awful to hear? Disc 6 is a complete waste of time. It is a complete waste of a disc. Now, I'm probably going to get a lot of thumbs down for that. That's fine. Whatever. That is your prerogative. But so far, if you're enjoying it, if you've been enjoying these, up until now, give me a thumbs up. Let's get that going early on so that the video makes some traction and YouTube sees, hey, people are down to clown for this video. Anyway, this is a waste of a disc. What we have here is one movie. One movie re-edited. Does that sound familiar? Of course it does. And that was The Rats Are Coming. The Werewolves Are Here. Of course, with the original version, Curse of the Full Moon. Ridiculous, garbage movie. And no need to see a different cut of it. Here you have the same thing, but it's... In some ways it's better, in some ways it's worse. Let me explain. Legacy of Blood, the one over here. Legacy of Blood is the movie that Andy Milligan shot. It is 77 minutes, to be exact. 77 minutes. And it is a remake of Disc 1. The ghastly ones.
What? No.
That's right. It's not a shot for shot, but I almost think it's the same exact damn script. There's a couple scenes where I'm 100% sure it was the exact same lines from Ghastly Ones. 100% the exact same lines. So Legacy of Blood is a beat for beat. Well, this is a little different. It's not beat for beat, but essentially line for line remake of Ghastly Ones. The exact same story. 3 sisters come together. A strange father is holding a reading of his will. To get the inheritance, they have to spend 3 days in a house. There's a killer in the house. It's the same killer from the Ghastly Ones, the same person. There's no change. The exact same damn movie. Different actors. I think it might be a different house. Same movie. It is a little gorier. I'll give it that. I believe it's a little gorier. And the acting is a lot better. I'll give it that. Also, it looks a lot better. It doesn't have the amateurish stink on it that Ghastly Ones has. It's definitely a more polished looking movie. The acting is better. Like I said, Andy's directing is a lot better. But I gotta be honest, it's not as fun as the Ghastly Ones. It just isn't. And that's a shame. That is a shame. Because look, Ghastly Ones, for all its amateurish qualities, is a hoot of a good time. It wastes no time getting to the house and getting to the kills. It's a rocket ride, and this is what? 72 minutes. Here, Legacy of Blood, 77 minutes, drags its ass for a good 40 minutes. We do get some extra backstory on the sisters. Who gives a shit? I don't care. I'm here for the kills. And it takes 40 minutes to get to the house where the killings begin. So it's not even a horror movie until... And that's the thing I'm finding about Andy Milligan that feels really odd to me. It's not a horror movie until 40 minutes into it. It's a family fucking drama. I didn't sign up for that.
Hold it,
the hell is that shit?
But is it good? Yes. If you didn't see Ghastly Ones, if there was no Ghastly Ones, if I just saw this as my first Andy Milligan movie, I'm like, okay, yeah, it's okay. It has a really, really slow burn beginning, but the acting is okay. You know, it's not terrible. The writing is really good. I know the characters actually have pathos. There's moments where some of the characters really stand out with their character development and their line delivery, and the specific lines that are delivered actually add value and don't feel like filler. So there's a lot to love about Legacy of Blood. But the fact that it's almost exactly beat for beat, line for line remake of Ghastly Ones knocks it down a peg for me. I didn't want to see the same movie again, and I don't understand why Andy was out of ideas that he felt he needed to remake the Ghastly Ones. Nobody was calling for that. Nobody was calling for that. I wasn't. Were you?
I did not.
Look, at the end of the day, Ghastly Ones is not much to write home about. I mean, this is probably going to be the shortest of these Andy Milligan reviews because I have nothing really to say about Legacy of Blood except for the fact that it is an improvement on Ghastly Ones. It's definitely a better version of that story, but it's not as fun as Ghastly Ones. This one takes its time, takes things a little more serious. Ghastly Ones just kind of hits the ground running. Crazy kills and crazy people. And yes, there is a mongoloid hunchback type guy in Legacy of Blood. Of course there is. There's one in Ghastly Ones. You have to have one in this one. It wouldn't be an Andy Milligan movie if somebody wasn't mentally incapacitated or, you know, kept in a dungeon in a basement. It just wouldn't feel right. Wouldn't feel right. But we're going to be getting into a few movies that I don't think have hunchbacks in them. We'll find out. Speaking of Andy, he also appears in the film. He cameos as a sticky-fingered mailman. Very strange, but it was nice to see him back in front of the screen, if only briefly. Legacy of Blood. That's Legacy of Blood. It is a 77-minute remake of a movie that essentially nobody really loved or cared about or even knew of. So maybe that's why he could get away with it. But what the hell is Legacy of Horror?
Don't wanna know, no.
Legacy of Horror is technically a remake of Legacy of Blood. Technically. It's really just the TV edit of Legacy of Blood. Now get this. TV edit. Remember I say that, right? The TV version. Gone is all the blood gags, all the gore, all the stabbings, all the gushing. Goodbye. You're not in the TV version. Goodbye. Yeah, get out of here. Get out of here, the only good thing in this movie. What is the runtime for Legacy of Horror? Well, I'll tell you. It's 83 minutes. How is it 6 minutes longer? By the removal of all the good stuff. There's no nudity, by the way. No nudity at all.
No.
83 minutes. 6 minutes longer. You know what happened? I don't know if he went back and reshot it or if it was just cut out originally. They add backstory. They add talking scenes to this horror movie. So remember when I said that it takes about 40 minutes for this to become a horror movie? The Legacy of Horror version, it takes a good hour. It takes a good hour before we really get to the good stuff. And the stuff that's added, or I should say the stuff that's maybe remained, it would put back in from the cut, is scenes with characters that never appear again. In one scene, one of the characters goes to visit his mother because he needs money to travel to the reading of his will. So there's a long scene in an antique store where this guy has a conversation with his mom. Boring. Who wants that? The other addition, there might be another thing, but the two that stood out to me was the addition of a scene with one of the daughters who's going to go to the reading of her will. Before she leaves, she goes out to her backyard to have a conversation with her suicidal gardener. What? It's like a 3-minute scene. He's like, oh, hey, could you, we're going to be gone for a while. Make sure you water the plants. He's like, oh, man, one day you're going to find me dead in the grass. What the fuck? What the fuck? Imagine watching this on TV. You'd be like, what is this? What kind of movie is this? It's a movie that has almost no plot till an hour into the movie when you realize, oh, it's a slasher movie. Okay. I thought this was some kind of Southern Gothic, drama movie. Because that's essentially what you have here for both of these movies. These remakes of ghastly ones play like really slow burn family dramas with a surprise slasher in the third act. That's disappointing. That's 100% disappointing to me. Maybe not to you. Maybe you love these movies. If you do, I'm happy for you. Congratulations. That's wonderful. I'm glad you can derive some joy from these movies. Let's talk about special features, shall we?
Hell yeah! Let's do this!
Now, there's no commentary, but, I honestly only said that so I could use those clips. There are 2 featurettes. We have a interview with an actor. What's his name? I'll make sure I get it right. It is Chris Broderick. Now, Chris Broderick plays, I forget his name, Carl? I think it's Carl. He plays our mongoloid, hunchback, basement dweller character in this movie. Very much a Staten Island, heavy New York accent actor. Seems like a nice guy. And he talks about how, he wanted to be in the movie. And Andy was like, oh, you can play the mongoloid who gets set on fire. And he's like, oh, I don't think I want to do it. And then he eventually decided to do it. But then in the subsequent movie he made with Milligan, he plays the romantic lead with one leg. So he talks about his time on Legacy and his time with the house movie he made with Milligan and how kind of insane the set was. Really interesting, really fast-paced, about 11 minutes with him. Then for about 16 minutes, we talked with Ken Lane. Ken Lane was the distributor for Legacy of Blood. He's the one who got Legacy of Blood, not only in theaters, but on TV. He's responsible for the Legacy of Horror edition, or version, I should say. Ken's interview is really funny, really insightful, not just about working with Milligan, but it offers some really fun information about distribution when it comes to the 42nd era. 42nd Street, New York theater, exploitation, grindhouse world. Really interesting. He also worked with Michael Hers and Lloyd Kaufman over in Troma, so he talks about his time with them. They almost had Legacy of Blood, but then Ken took it, and he talks about working with Andy and how Andy was just always making movies with whatever little money he had, and how difficult it was to get a movie in theaters, and what you had to do. You had to play ball with the theater owners, because they were honestly the last say. Really interesting stuff. I really liked it from that perspective, seeing that the distributor perspective from that era. This is the only interesting thing about this disc. Also, you don't really get a trailer. You get a TV spot for the TV version. No trailer for Legacy of Blood, which I assume there is one at one point. Maybe it lost. I don't know. Maybe I'm playing it now during this. I found it on YouTube. If I did, I'm playing it now, or maybe I'm just playing the TV spot. However, you're watching some kind of footage, because I like to keep you entertained. However handsome I am, I do understand that looking at a face for too long can get a little dull. You know what doesn't get dull? Looking at this. It's funny, I look at my demographics and I don't have a giant female audience. Maybe it's because I use clips like that. I don't know. But that's fine by me. I honestly make these videos to keep myself entertained. And if you have fun with me, then hey, I love it. Legacy of Blood, Legacy of Horror, Disc 6, in my opinion, is a wash. Complete, utter wash. Pointless. I honestly would not have wanted a remake of Ghastly Ones on this disc. Put that on Ghastly Ones. Put that on the Ghastly Ones disc. I mean, maybe file size would interrupt that, but still. I would much rather have seen Weirdo or Monstrosity or one of the California ones. Something else that I know is out there. I would have much rather seen that than Ghastly Ones again, twice. Disappointing overall. I feel that's definitely the weakest disc. If you have this set and you're, watching these, it's sort of like, where should I start? I would say skip disc 6 altogether. Or, no, because the Ghastly Ones is better. It's more fun. But yeah, Legacy of Blood is a better made movie. So, I'm on the fence as to which one to recommend, to be honest. Ghastly Ones feels more Milligan. in my opinion. And Legacy is just kind of sort of a weak imitator. Yeah, that's where I stand with Legacy of Blood. And that's disc 6. Like I said, this is going to be my shortest one because I just have nothing to really say about the movie. I've already reviewed this movie. It's called Ghastly Ones. It is what it is. I'm disappointed. I'm hoping the other ones bring it up a little bit for me. The next disc, I believe, is his Porny Ones. I'll give you my honest opinion on it as a heterosexual male who has put a ton of money on this thing. Oh boy. Oh boy. Okay, let's call it a day. My friend, thank you so much for your time. You mean the world to me. You're from the neighborhood Master Chaos. Loves you just the way you are. I mean that. I really, really do. I'll be here. I hope you'll come back and hang out with me. It really will mean the world to me. And wherever you are in that world, I wish you the best. Sending you love, good thoughts, good vibes. Do something nice for somebody if you get a chance today. Why don't we do that? Why don't we look past the negativity of just a complete waste of a disc? Let's do something nice for somebody. Open the door for a stranger. Say good morning to somebody. You know, brighten somebody's day. Let's pay it forward a little bit. I think the world needs that. Okay, my friend, signing off for now. Take care of yourself. I'll be here. Hope you will be as well. I remain to be continued.